Everyone to the bonus What in the World session. Typically, What in the World meets the first Wednesday of every month. And we are doing this bonus What in the World Wednesday on not the first Wednesday of the month in order to do a recording for the celebration of the 30th anniversary of Taos. Boy, it's been 30 years. And I don't want this to be a monologue, so I invite others to jump in. And just thinking, though, as I give you all time to think what you may want to say, is what in the world is how it was created. And we think it was created in what year?
20, I would say it was 2015.
2015.
My closest recollection as I
So, about 8 years ago.
Yep.
Okay. And it was designed, I'm assuming, because I was not participating in What in the World at that point, to have an open conversation, a time that people can come together and share and discuss and talk about what's on your mind, whatever it was that Wednesday, wherever you were in the world.
Yeah, I was on the TIAC when we had these conversations, and it was really, we were looking for how could we find a way to do social construction with each other in a more intentional and less structured kind of way. We were a little bit cutting edge because it was before Zoom was in everybody's life all the time. And we really appreciated as a committee coming together and talking in our meetings, and we wanted to kind of replicate that more broadly and make some attempts to kind of bring in the whole globe, which we'll probably talk about this at some time, but time zones are a real challenge. And then naming was a real challenge. So we didn't really settle on Wednesdays because we could do What in the World Wednesday, but because we settled on Wednesdays, we were able to come up with our catchy little name.
At one point, I did try to change the time to What in the World Wednesday and had a lot of pushback of people saying, no, I can't do that.
That's right.
Or don't do that.
I think I was the main obstacle for you.
But addressing the time zones has been a challenge at times, and people's work schedules as well. Because I know several people have said, I want to be there, I love it, but that time and that day, I can't do it.
Right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
morning.
Good morning. Bom dia.
For me. Bom dia for me.
Bom dia, amiga.
So I think I joined I joined TIAC I think in 19 and at some point I think whoever was leading at the time needed to get off, and so I took the convening of it over. And it felt like I was convening it forever, every month, until I came off TIAC, and then Jerry took it over. But I love this format personally, and I've met so many people, well, not so many, but a few people, and over time people got to know people really well, and I feel like deeply connected, which is always a strange phenomenon since I only know you all on Zoom. When I think about it, it just hurts my head, but because I feel like I really, you're my friends, and that's all I want to say for now. It's been a wonderful format. I'll say more later.
Just to jump on that and add a brief thing is with COVID coming into play, it was very nice to have this connection when I was not going out and, my world was on Zoom, and to have, the people that would come on Zoom.
Hi,
Hi, Pamela.
good morning.
Morning.
We're just having an open dialogue, which is what in the World Wednesday is about,
Mhm.
and sharing, a little bit of the history and our experiences with it. And
Wonderful.
it's being recorded for the 30th anniversary of Taos, which I think is supposed to be a 5-minute video. So anything we want to say, and then we can continue if we need to cut it shorter.
Yeah, we might have to edit.
So
So
what are some highlights? What are some highlights that people are recalling? I'm not a frequent attender, but I always enjoy attending the few times I have.
well, let me ask everyone, if you were to put one word to what in the World Wednesday is, what word would you use to describe it? Or phrase?
I would say it's informal, intimate.
Well, in my experience with the group, and I started with Elena back, I think it was pre-pandemic, and there's
Yes.
just a genuine connection that emerges. There was a core group of people who would float in and out, and we just got comfortable with one another. There was genuine connection and a deepening of relationship. And Elena pointed out that, geez, I have a connection with these people in a way that I've never been with them. And I've shared before, I don't know if they're 3 feet tall or 12 feet tall or anything about how they are, but there's a genuine care for one another. And that to me has been the impressive part. We've come and we've opened up and explored certain things that it's like an open group in so many ways. So
I'm actually this big, 5 centimeters.
that's what Anna said, but I was.
I think in addition to connection, that it's also about relevance, because it's every month and because we float in and out, we talk about kind of what's relevant to us in the moment right now. And I think one of the things we were thinking about when we first floated these ideas was that it would be a way of capturing what's going on outside of our own limited office or perspective, and to hear what's relevant to colleagues who are in other places and spaces.
And Linda, my recollection is, to begin with, when I first joined, that it was a bit more formal in the sense that there was sort of a way of prompting more what is going on in your world today. People reflected on events and things that were happening specifically there. And with time, I think that what's happened, and maybe because we got to know each other better, much more of a free floating, responding to one another without a specific agenda.
Yeah, an emergent dialogue.
Mhm.
I mean, it just.
I'm remembering times we talk about birds, another time about trees, another times about different places on the planet that people had visited, and another time stories of Mary Gergen in her memorial.
Mm. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I've been here for 3 meetings now, and I feel that in our next opportunity of meeting personally, we'll all be able to go for drinks and like keep the conversation going, and we know each other, right?
Yeah, I would say that it's a very nice meeting, without meeting each other, but we are connected, not only, but we are free, you know, we feel freedom to talk whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, so that means to me that there is a sense of safety somehow that gets transmitted in this group. We haven't actually talked about, to my recollection, but it's over time, I think the fact that some people are always here, others drift in and out. But there is this sense that of openness, acceptance.
And not dwelling on complaint. I mean, we will have problems that we'll dive into, but it's not complaint. It's more of an empathy for the tragedy of our situation, and it's quite interesting in that way.
Right.
But I think it's because everybody was in the same situation. It was not unique. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Right.
the tragic circumstances of our lives were common.
And unprecedented. I mean,
Right.
we're
Yeah.
going through something so horrific worldwide. And on that score, as I was reflecting on this coming meeting, I really owe Taos a great debt, because particularly during COVID, it was these meetings, What in the World Wednesday, TIAC, the forum calls, the author calls, the various ways to connect that really gave me a foothold in this craziness that we were all going through, because I was very isolated for a long time. So it was a wonderful connection.
How long has it been going on? When it started, it was before the
We,
pandemic.
we were, best guess was around 2015. And that was the time when Linda and Ilana, I think, were on TIAC.
I
Okay,
came
that
on
was-
TIAC at 19.
Okay. Linda, you were on TIAC then?
Yes, that's correct.
And when you said that it was a way to replicate the experience of being TIAC or TIAC, I never did know the right way of pronouncing that one. It led me to think about that, because there was definitely a loss when my term expired of TIAC, and not having that monthly meeting with everyone, and feeling a bit of a gap with Taos, because I didn't have that involvement except for What in the World Wednesday.
Yeah, and I guess my hope for What in the World Wednesday, I know that I've been a poor attender many times over the last few years because I've had lots of family responsibilities, but you know, I still feel a part of What in the World Wednesday, and I hope that people don't hear that there's this connection and this group piece that they can't join. So every time I show up, I still feel welcomed by whoever's in the group, whether I know them a little or a bit more or not at all. And I know that was our hope, was to make it kind of something that you could drop in or miss without feeling that kind of obligation or guilt, and just come because it was worth coming to, and that you'd feel welcomed in the room regardless of how often you showed up. So.
Yeah, I think we really, as a member, just it was clearly open. It was and we made a conscious invitation to anybody who arrived, and the degree of genuineness just opened it up more, where people could feel pretty safe right away. I got that sense, but.
And there was a lot of variation over the years. I mean, there were times that there were like 3 or 4 of us on the call. And there were times that there were 15, I think, right,
Yeah.
Jerry?
Yeah.
There were times
Yeah.
of 15, 20 people
Mhm.
on the call. I mean, we filled up the squares. So, um, yeah, it varied a lot, but it was always good. I
I
don't
w-
want to talk about it in the past. I want to talk about it in the present.
It was just recently, I was on a What in the World Wednesday meeting, and there were quite a few people, I think, and I really enjoyed just how the conversation moved in so many different ways and led ultimately to the books we were reading. And that was just a wonderful glimpse at sort of our lives, at each other's lives, and the interests and the curiosities and ideas would spark from that. And we brought that back to the TIAC meeting. I think, Bruno, you'll remember that. And Sally, I offered that possibly that could be something to share. We're out of this was what books are people reading, if that came up, or other items of interest. So even if people didn't make it to What in the World Wednesday, there would be something that you could take from it and offer to others that could help inspire them and feel connected to the conversation. So, and Sally really loved that idea. Like, she was interested. What books were people reading?
Bruno and I had that conversation when we were the first two on the Zoom today, and Bruno having the books behind him prompted that as well.
Mm-hmm. Many of my books are on my phone right now, so
I like a book in my hand rather than on a
I do too.
laptop or electronic.
Yeah, me too.
I do too, but I'm forced more and more to go digital. So,
Mm,
you know, I have to say one of the outstanding meetings in my mind, Terry, was the one you did on murmurations.
Mhm.
And still have the visual and the sense of it. And as I was just talking about the way the conversation goes here, it made me feel like we're part of this murmuration of kind of all of us moving around on and turning and shifting, and it's very much like that to me.
Thanks. I think of that often too. Well, I'm going to turn off the video in just a moment, but any closing words anybody wants to share? Because I think there's a time limit to the video.
Yeah, I think it's between 5 and 30, but I really wanted to close with an invitation, because What in the World Wednesday are here. They are going through every and any obstacle, and everybody is welcome. It will be such a joy to have new conversations, right?
Thank you. I am glad to hear that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I plan to continue coming wherever I am in the world. And I do tend to travel to different spots in the world, such as Brazil, US.
Okay.
Next week, I'm going to Germany.
Mm.
Great.
So I'll stop it right now. Thank you all for watching us, whoever is watching us right now.
Join us.